I was at the walk-in when really stuff started to kind of hit the fan. We were seeing patients like come in with, coughs and colds and, stuff that we're very accustomed to seeing, but recommendations were starting to come out about the PPE that we should wear. And I'm like, okay, well, this person has a cough. And then every one of us would be gowning and gloving, and all the medical assistants would be gowning and gloving. I was like, this just doesn't seem very safe. Like, for some reason, it doesn't seem safe. And so I eventually started to go out to people's cars, which was weird. I was like, well, I'm just going to go. And I would lug all my stuff with me. I would take out the thermometer and the O2 sat monitor to check their oxygen. And I'm like, with my little bucket and stuff, stick stuff in bushes just so I could lay it, so I wasn't laying it on the ground. And I would have like a mishmash of PPE because I was like, well, I don't really need the whole gown if I'm outside, or I'll wear this mask. We only have this one. We don't have this one. I don't know. It's kind of making it up as we went along. And then I started to notice that people would follow not my lead, but it just seemed like what everybody started doing. And I was like, okay, then there's really got to be a better way to do this. A couple of colleagues and I were like, we don't feel safe. Like, that's when we were like, we need a good plan. Like, this is not safe. Not safe for patients, not safe for staff, because people are like waiting outside in the waiting room and all that. And so we're like, we need to shut this down and we need to come up with a plan. And around that time was when I was like, we need to see patients outside. Like, we cannot bring people in this clinic. It is not okay. Our medical director, Dr. Myers, had sent, it was a New York Times article that had showed one of the big respiratory tents that they had built outside of one of the hospitals. I don't know if it was Bellevue or whatever hospital it was. But I was like, we can do that. We can absolutely do that. So I walked right upstairs and I was like, let's do this. And so we're all going back and forth with what do we have and what do we need and who can do this and, how many people. And our clinic director said, well, we have the CSA tent, like the veggie produce tent that we use during the summer. And I'm like, that's perfect. Let's use that. And we have like a table and we have, our medical equipment. I'm like, let's just bring it all outside. Like, we'll figure it out. As long as it's all outside, we can figure the rest out. And very quickly we went from everybody using like all this different PPE within the clinic and everybody coming in and out to like having people literally drive up in this tent and, swabbing and doing vitals and all that stuff. And it just really developed from there. But it was really cool to see like just how quickly everybody can just be like, yeah, this needs to happen. And then you could really see within the different groups of people, be it leadership or medical assistants or nursing or whoever, like the leaders sort of emerged from that. And like, there were a few medical assistants that were like, yeah, let's do this. And, they were actually the ones with EMT backgrounds. And like, you could see that like pandemic emergency sort of like personality take over of like, okay, yes, this is what I'm designed for. But I think that's what happens, right? And in emergency sort of pandemic trauma situations, like people that just have that personality kind of take charge, but not in a bad way, right? Like, you need leadership when it comes down to it. And so medicine very much is a hierarchy, but that's not what this is. It's all hands on deck. And in order to get anything done, like, you really all need to work together to do it. That's exactly what happened. I think that Richmond sort of operates that way anyway, and that's probably why we're so good about being so progressive and just getting stuff done, and that framework is kind of there. I don't want to speak about OHSU, but just in general, all of medicine, right? I mean, it's like the doctors at the top, and then there's the administrators, and then there's sort of, the nurses and the staff and the medical assistants, but it doesn't work that way. Like, that doesn't work, right? And that's why COVID is so important. I think it's important, right? But it's also so devastating because that's the way it's been structured, and that's really not the way. That life doesn't work that way. So I think it's really blown everything out of the water in a lot of different aspects. But certainly this one of like, this doesn't work. I don't want to call COVID the great equalizer, because in a lot of ways it is not, right? In a lot of ways it has just blown up the disparities and kind of all of what we knew already, but it's just made it that more apparent. So, but in terms of like the teamwork that happens, I think it's really, you just realize we're all just people, and we're all just trying to do the right thing, right? And so on that level, it's been much less intimidating. And so it's just been really nice to kind of be reminded of that, because in such a big system where you see the names and the titles and you're like, oh, this person's a bigwig, but to realize at the end of the day, like, we're human, and that's what matters. And we're all trying to do the best we can for ourselves and our patients. And so to have that interaction and that ability to work on that level has been really, really nice.